Right. Good morning, everybody who's listening, and welcome to this discussion with Professor John Oakland from Oakland Consulting Group on Quality 4.0 and what that means for the way that the world of industry and commerce actually deals with the challenges of quality in the 21st century. So welcome, John. Thank you for giving us your time today.
Thank you, John.
Really got to start with a really basic question. What is Quality 4.0 and why is it needed?
Well, obviously, John, everybody knows the world is already experiencing massive transformation in the world, the way businesses run, society, governments operate, and it's largely driven by digital transformation. In the field of quality management, the principles and practices and tools of quality management have been proven to be of value over hundreds of years. But quality professionals and institutions, leading thinkers, academics, and other managerial level people expect those principles and practices and tools to be significantly challenged by the digital transformation. And we're working with the Chartered Quality Institute, which is the professional body, if you like, of quality professionals. And they feel that they need to prepare their professionals to respond to this ongoing emergence of the digital age and help them to identify, acquire and demonstrate the value of new skills and knowledge that they will need, require really, to thrive in the future. And of course, Industry 4.0 was invented, if you like, in Germany in around about 2010-11. They came forward and said, well, particularly our manufacturing industry, we're going to have to, do something about the fact that we're automating everything. We've got artificial intelligence, got machine learning, robots in our factories. And that's a different world to our previous life. So they created the term Industry 4.0, and everybody's bought into that. And so it is reasonable to say that if we're going to manage a new factory with the robots, what are the quality issues there? And what's more, as a quality manager, what should I be using that are digitalized, if you like, to help manage quality? There's two sides of that coin. So answering the why, that's why we're doing this. And the work has been, if I carry on trying to answer the question, what is Quality 4.0? They funded a research project with we have something called the Oakland Institute, which I set up years ago when I was professor of total quality management at Bradford University. And then I moved to Leeds University, where I'm still emeritus professor. And the Oakland Institute was set up to work with organizations like Leeds University Business School and other academic institutions across Europe to carry out leading edge research in a very pragmatic way that will be really helpful to practitioners. So we've linked up with Professor Chi Wong, who is Professor of Supply Chain Management at Leeds University Business School, our own people, Ian McCabe, particularly, and Dr. Katie Twyford in the Institute. And we set up a project to look at Quality 4.0. What is it? Define it. What is it about? What do people have to do differently to implement that?
If I come in then, John, so what would you describe sort of principal differences between, shall we say, the traditions of TQM and Quality 4.0?
Yeah, well, let me tell you how we went about this, because that's quite important, I think. The CQI particularly wanted us to go into the literature first and to do exactly what you have just asked me. What is existing? What's the existing knowledge? The classic research approach. What's published in the literature, and then what are the missing bits, if you like? What are the areas of knowledge that we can add value to? So we went into the literature, did a highly systematic review, massive amount of references in this field. If you put them all together, about 75,000 references on all this. And what that research sought to do was to look at that literature and then go to leading stakeholders and to develop a working definition. So take it from me, this is a proper piece of research, and it was done very systematically. What the literature review came out with was, if you like, a fairly clunky definition. So the big answer, the long answer to your question on what the hell is quality 4.0, what it does is refers to the future of quality and organizational excellence, as we call it, through digitalization and its impact on organizations' processes, people, and technology. It builds upon traditional approaches and tools by considering the connectedness that we now all feel, the fact that we're doing this via a Zoom meeting, and previously we were met in your office or my office in Leeds to do it, about automation, intelligence, improving performance, reducing risk. So we're using all that modern technology and digitalization to improve our performance and reduce risk. It leads, if you say what does Quality 4.0 do, it leads to better, more timely, data-driven decisions in an end-to-end scenario, because supply chains now are hugely complex, global, involving many, many stakeholders right across the whole supply chain, and increasingly we need visibility and transparency. You've only to see the effect of that large ship blocking the canal in the Middle East for a few days to see how that seriously affected just about everybody's life in the world. And and Chi Wong is a great guy to work with on this, because he's a global expert in supply chain. And finally, I would say that what Quality 4.0 does includes the digitalization of what we call quality of design, quality of conformance to that design, and quality of performance, using modern technologies, data-rich approaches to managing transactions as well as meeting customer expectations. So if you take the project world, say, of construction, building bridges and buildings, then we need to improve our ability to manage those transactions using that digitalized world. And if we believe that buildings fall down, and that's a very topical thing, of course, bridges fall down, that's definitely a quality problem. Somebody has put in there the wrong concrete. And if you're building the Crossrail tunnel, are you going to use 15-year concrete, or are you going to use 150-year concrete? If you use 15-year concrete, it's going to fall down. And that's what's happened. So we see catastrophic effects of not getting quality right. If we're in the digital world, we need to use all the available technology and computerization, the digitalization, to help us do that.
And that's really interesting. I was you mentioned Crossrail. I was sent a video a couple of days ago, and it was about the launch of Crossrail, and the person doing the presentation was about over 15 minutes. Because for me, the ultimate test of quality is whether the customer actually gets the outcome they wanted in the first place. In this 15-minute video about Crossrail, they didn't mention passengers except once. It was sort of quite, they were very pleased with the way they were doing things, but they didn't actually sort of seem to think the passengers were terribly important to it all. So if I'm just thinking about that, there are the data-driven element of this is clearly dramatically different. I mean, we're sitting here now with 5G telephones and all that sort of dramatic shift in volumes of data that are going on. Construction industry, particularly for public buildings, started to work towards BIM, Building Information Management Systems, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And there is, of course, a nascent ISO standard 8000 dealing with sort of data across the supply chain. How does this quality 4.0 sit with particularly ISO 8000 type thinking?
Well, Martin Morozeki, who's an Australian academic and consultant, and I wrote a book many years ago called Total Quality in the Construction Supply Chain. And we revised that in around about 2018. And we brought out the second edition, which had a different name. It was called Total Construction Management. And in that, we have talked about BIM, of course, and a set of principles that need to be adopted to manage quality in that environment. And not just quality, the whole operation, lean thinking. Well, we called it, the subtitle of the book is Lean Quality in the Construction Supply Chain. And it's hugely important, because if we don't get every aspect of that right in the construction industry, we're building, if we are HS2, we're building stations like King's Cross. These places are going to last forever. So we have to build in an infrastructure that says this is not going to fall down. The entries for the passengers are not going to start going wrong. They're going to be flexible. So if a new technology arrives where we can read somebody's ticket by looking at their face, then we'll be able to put that in. And that takes some thinking through. And what we've done in this work, John, is very significant. We haven't just defined what Quality 4.0 is. From the literature, we have identified 8 emerging principles of Quality 4.0. Now, for those of you who are not quality professionals, you'll probably not be aware, but there are 7 principles of quality management. These are customer focused, so how you get away with not talking about customers or passengers, I don't know. Leadership, engaging people, your own people who are perhaps your customers, people in your supply chain. A process approach. What's the process here? How do we operate end to end in a process way? How does everything work? How do you do improvement? Because things change, things go wrong, entropy increases all the time. So everything turns to rubbish in the end. You need improvement. You need evidence-based decision-making and relationship management. Those are the 7 principles. These remain the foundation of Quality 4.0. But what we have done is we've come up with a concept definition of Quality 4.0 and 8 supporting principles. These are not replacing the 7 principles, they're, if you like, extensions. And we're developing in the stage 2 of the project a matrix of these 7 and 8 principles, if you like. And each box will be a piece of advice for executives and quality managers, quality executives throughout, and chief information officers, of course, as well. And what you have to do to make this happen in the digital world. And I don't want to read out 8 principles, but I will tell you they are stuff like co-creation of value. So customers and society constantly redefining the value they require. We know that. We now will buy our clothes online. I never thought I would ever do that. A pair of shoes, you can't do that. You can buy a pair, you can send them back if they're not right, and we've accepted that. So we're redefining the value that we want and how and where we desire to consume stuff. Customer value, co-creation is definitely increasing through digital.
If I can come in here then, so the one that obviously leapt out at me when I had the privilege of reading the material before it was published was the word cybernetics suddenly appears in the middle of this. And I've been saying this since the late 90s, as you know. We've talked about it much in the past. So what is this? What is the, if you like, the cybernetics of Quality 4.0 for you? Why is it there?
Well, I shouldn't tell you this. You're the president of the Cybernetics Society, and I'm delighted that recently I was accepted as a fellow into that society. I am a convert. I'm a convert by you, John, because you very kindly pointed out in my first book on TQM that it hadn't got the cybernetics feel to it, and it didn't look at the whole system. And it's very interesting because the field of quality and continuous improvement is important for the field of systems theory and cybernetics, because it is possible to describe the principles of total quality management, that is embracing the whole organization, all its customers, all its supply chain. And it's possible to describe those principles from the points of view of systems theory and cybernetics. And because in TQM and in cybernetics, there's an emphasis on increasing the autonomy of workers, reducing hierarchical relationship, increasing the feedback through the whole production process, having good relationship with customers and suppliers, measuring results and testing innovations on as you make improvements. And these methods, you know, TQM, they might not be talked about as much as they were in the 90s, but they have proven to be very effective. In Japan, it runs through them like Blackpool Rock, as we say here. They're quite effective. They increasingly are adopted in corporations and government agencies. And if managers have traditionally thought of control, when you use the word quality, you get a lot of people who think of control as if you somehow can separately control quality by some quality control manager or managerial activity. And of course you can't. They may have thought that you can control, if you like, a function or a unit by some high level of authority where the executive walks into the office and berates the quality manager because he sent a pile of rubbish to AstraZeneca. You know, this is not the world in which we operate successfully. So from a cybernetics point of view, a system has got to be structured in such a way that it can control itself, not as a separate control activity. So the world of quality and cybernetics, as you well know, are really bolted together. It's less to do with imposing control and more about structuring a system so that it can be self-controlling. And for example, I mentioned the second principle of our 8, and others include things like data value, technology and combined intelligence, cyber physical systems. But one of them is cybernetics, data being captured from multiple sources across vertical, and this is the key, I think. You've got to think about the integration, vertical, horizontal, and end-to-end supply chains, interconnected, smart networks in the ecosystem of the activity you're involved in, and they're increasingly used to dynamically regulate and improve a total system performance. And that also, and that's very important, includes behaviors, inputs and outputs. So we're doing some work, for example, a lot of work on data analytics, data governance, data architecture in organizations like Network Rail and telephone companies, water companies. And we're seeing the use of data analytics in particular to create an intelligent forecasting system that stops these big construction projects being late, over budget, and not doing what people want them to do. And that's due to data analytics, digitalization. So
if you were, and I know you do on a regular basis, if the audience for this interview ultimately is a bunch of chief executives, or senior decision makers in organizations. Couple of sentences, what should they be doing?
I think they should be making sure that they have first of all, they have a strategy for digitalization, which includes what we have put together as a set of principles for Quality 4.0. And what that, using those principles, should bring together, and developing that strategy should bring together the top team. The danger is going down the CIO route, if you like, and making it functional. And we know that, you know, we have some of the, in our own organization, we have some of the brightest brains in the world, you know, populated by PhDs, brains coming out of their ears, very strong on the data analytical work, but how much knowledge and feel for business processes do they have? The people involved in those, the decisions that they make. And what we do is make sure that our colleagues are first introduced, if you like, to business operations. So don't let the tech guys run away with this, because at the end, you'll not know what the hell is going on, for one thing. You need it explaining to you in words that you can understand. And if they can't do that, then they have to go away and come back until they do. So first of all, you need a strategy. Then you need to bring people together, make sure that this does not go just vertical. You've got the horizontal integration. That's why I talked about that, across the functions. And then you've got this end-to-end understanding, right from the, you know, meet the customer, find out what they want, design something that meets their requirement, make something or provide a service that meets their requirement, check out whether that worked. And of course, the whole supply chain that you have to engage in doing that. And if you're manufacturing stuff, then what are the supply chain implications? We know, you know, in the electronics industry, for example, capacitors have caused a big problem. They're a shortage. People start messing about with them, so they start to reduce the precious metals that they're putting in them. They have thinner and thinner layers of precious metal, which dry out. The capacitor then warms up and sets on fire. Hence, your laptop suddenly sets on fire. Why? Because the capacitor's not of the quality it should be. And it's the chief executive, you know, in Leeds going to know about what's going on in Taiwan when all that happens. So it takes some doing to get that end-to-end integration, but you've got to put your effort in to do it.
And some industries are very good. The aircraft industry, aero engine industry is spectacularly good at that particular thing. Other industries perhaps not quite so good. So John, we are going to run out of time. Where can people find out more? Where would you point?
It's about to land a big article in Quality World called Quality 4.0. All the members of the CQI, of course, will read that because that's their magazine. But that magazine is read worldwide, and hopefully there will be a lot of stuff there. What that article does is tell you about the definition, the 8 principles, and then it gives examples from the real world to highlight each of the principles. It then provides an infographic, a nice figure of 8 document, which is a pull-out, and that will go viral in week commencing the 19th of July. So people will be able to get e-copies of that, read about it, inwardly digest. I think chief executives should read that. They should try to understand and learn about those 8 principles, because they will be guidance. That's what they're for. They're guidance for them in this world today. After that, there'll be webinars, there'll be stuff on LinkedIn, blogs posted and everything. And then our stage 2 work, which is all about the implementation, a bit more about what chief executives should do, what quality managers should do, and so on. That will be coming out. That our project on that is through to September. So in the autumn there'll be a lot more coming out. Videos, we're contracted to do a script for a video, for example, and that will be coming out in the autumn. So
brilliant.
We'll be hitting that hard, John. We'll be really hitting the PR button.
That's fantastic. Professor John Oakland, thank you very, very much indeed.
But it's a pleasure, John. Thank you very much.